This is Ginny Brant with Unleash Your God-Given Healing. I just did a great interview with my good friend, Annette Reeder, who is known as the Biblical Nutritionist. In this interview, we discuss some tips for helping you decide what are the best treatments for your cancer. When you look at all the treatments available to the cancer patient today, it's like a smorgasbord, all the way from conventional and integrative and holistic. There are holistic methods that are backed by research. And so we're going to tell you about some of these things and how you can choose what is best for you. Quite frankly, Annette and I have both found that taking the best of each can sometimes be the best solution. But in the end, what's best for you is what gives you a peace in your heart after much prayer and research. So please listen to the valuable information in this interview. May it bless you and give you wisdom for your own journey.
So today, let's talk about how a person can choose what's right for them. And I just want to say, in the course, we say it over and over and over. Each person's choice is what's best for them. So go ahead, Jenny, give us some insight into these choices.
Well, the first thing you need to do when you get a cancer diagnosis, the first thing my husband and I did was to pray. We asked God to provide healing and guidance, because the cancer journey is like a field of decisions and there's potholes everywhere. And you never know when you're going to step on something that's going to really hurt you or something that's going to really help you. And a lot of difficult decisions. So I think prayer is the first thing, because it's important that you come up with a treatment plan that gives you, as you just kind of mentioned, a peace in your heart, because your body is going to be more in a ability to heal mode if you have a peace about what you're doing. Let me say this to begin with. You first must have a diagnosis. And I'm really big on, and I know someone can disagree with me on this, that getting that diagnosis is important. And a diagnosis comes when a pathologist reads a slide under that microscope from a biopsy. And the reason I'm saying this diagnosis is important is because I've had a lot of people tell me, well, I don't want to get a biopsy. They found a mass in me. They have it on the MRI. They have it on the ultrasound or the mammogram or whatever. And I don't want a biopsy because I've heard it will spread cancer all over my body. I have never found that to be true. When that biopsy needle goes into that tumor, it is true that there's a protective coating. There's so many things in our body that God puts in design to protect us, that protection has a little hole in the wall. And yes, a cancer cell might get out, but is it going to spread all over your body? I've not seen that to be true. And I'm talking about hundreds of patients and thousands of cases, not seen that to be true. Might it go out of that tumor and then maybe eventually plant another tumor near that tumor eventually over time? Yes, but if you're doing surgery, they're going to remove that tumor and clear the margin. And if you're doing all holistic, what you do is going to help shut the cancer down anyway. So the point is, you need a valid diagnosis. And that diagnosis tells you some important things you need to know to make decisions about your own care and being your own best advocate. It will tell you if it's cancer. Now, people may not realize this, but I've heard it said over and over and over again from radiologists and pathologists, 2 out of 3 breast cancer biopsies are not cancer, okay? And people need to know that. And so you need to know if it is cancer, but it's going to tell you more than, that it's just cancer. It's going to tell you what the drivers are. And that's important. It's going to tell you whether that cancer is slow growing or whether that cancer is fast growing and spreading. It's aggressive. You need to know that, because that's going to make other decisions. So let me give you the example. When I first went to the doctor, I found the lump. Okay. So I'm going to the doctor. They do the mammogram, they do the ultrasound. Oh, yeah, it's there because I can feel it. They can see it. And they said, oh, little bit of surgery, you'll be good to go. Well, that didn't turn out to be true, because when the biopsy came back, it showed them that my cancer was estrogen fed, like they figured 80% are with breast cancer, but it also showed it was aggressive. That is important to know, because I do have this, I see medical treatments as going from lifestyle changes is the first thing I'm going to look at. And then I'm going to look at holistic therapies. And then I'm going to look at integrative therapies and the conventional, the surgery, the chemo, the radiation, all the heavy drugs. I'm going to pull that out only if I have to. And that's kind of the way I look at things. So I was sitting there thinking, well, I'm willing to do surgery. I believe in surgery. I think that's a great way to remove the cancer. But you got to realize that something's got to change if you got cancer. Even if they do the surgery, remove the cancer, clear the margins, you've still got to change your lifestyle. That is just a given. But when that doctor told me it was aggressive, my whole world changed, because I was thinking, oh, the last thing I want in the world is chemotherapy. And I want to avoid that at all costs. And then I'm sitting there facing the fact that it's aggressive. And if I don't bring out chemo, if I don't bring out immunotherapy, it could very well spread to the point where I can't stop it. So I would have, if the doctor had said to me, and this is another thing that's coming up these days, they'll say, well, there's oncotype test. We have cleared your margin, you're stage 1, you're stage 2. It is not in your lymph nodes, but this test shows that you should have chemo. Well, I would be the type to say, I'm changing my lifestyle, and that counts for something. So I'm not going to do the recommended chemo. But in my case, because it was aggressive, yes, I did the chemo. So it all goes back to that biopsy, which you have a right to get a second opinion about. I did get a second opinion. I was shocked at the results of the MRI and the biopsy. But that is important, because lifestyle changes can make a huge difference. But I'm big on, if the cancer can be removed through surgery, and it's not dangerous, like, right on a bad part of your brain or in a place near your heart where the surgery has high risk, then surgery is a great way to remove the cancer. So there's a lot of decisions, and that would be on the conventional side. So here I am changing my lifestyle as much as I can. I'm learning as I go, and I'm looking at that smorgasbord of all the things that are before me, and I'm taking some of all of it. I'm doing the lifestyle changes. I'm doing the holistic methods. I did the vitamin C. It worked very well for me. Realize that anything that's not approved by insurance, you will pay out of pocket for. I was fortunate that I had a cancer policy, and that helped to pay for some things that was duplicated in insurance. So I got to use that money to help pay for the vitamin C infusions. But the point is, anything holistic, you're going to have to go, it's going to be out of network generally. And any doctor you go to, like Hope for Cancer in Tijuana or Germany, where they're doing low-dose chemo or all natural treatments, most insurances don't pay for that. And so you've got to look at what your insurance will pay for and what you've got in your bank account that you can use, or fundraising, so that you're not leaving your family in debt from a cancer journey. So there's just so many things to consider, but it's important that you have a piece. I know people that just couldn't get a piece about chemotherapy. Frankly, I'm shocked I had a piece about it. Why did I have a piece? Because my cancer center provided a nutritionist and a naturopathic doctor to help me get through it. Plus, I was researching on other things I could do, and it all helped. And that's, in the cancer course, what I did that really helped to lessen the side effects of the chemo. But the point is, some people can't come to a piece about chemo then, and if you prayed about it, then I think that's the answer in your heart, that it's not going to work for you, and it may not be best for you. But I don't advocate people just kind of going it alone, going in the dark and saying, well, I don't really know if I have cancer. They found a tumor. They don't know what it is. I don't want a biopsy. I'm just going to change my diet up a little bit and I think I'll be okay. No, cancer is a snowball going down a hill at a rapid rate in some people. And it collects this energy, and it takes a lot to stop it, a huge amount of dedication to lifestyle changes. And you need some holistic doctor, integrative doctor, to guide you through it if you don't want to make use of the what conventional medicine has to offer. You have any comments about that?
Yeah, I do. And so I think the most important thing is, number one, you started with, first of all, just pray about it. What I do love, and having a diagnosis, I think is very valuable. And so the next thing is, we are seeing more and more testimonies of people who are going more holistic or integrative with much better results than those who are choosing conventional. So I tend to lean more in those categories, because just there's so much about food we understand, but there's more that we don't understand. And there's words like phytonutrients, which means a plant nutrient. There's other words about unknown food factors. Well, I call them God food factors, because there's so much we don't understand about food that yet God is unveiling. And the research on food and just the extracts or the herbs or the essential oils and what God is allowing man to discover in its healing effect. That's why we're starting to see people say, okay, I've got my diagnosis. I know what I'm up against, and I'm not comfortable with chemo and radiation or surgery or whatever of the three they choose. Instead, I am going to try another route. And they are seeing amazing testimonies come from that. And so I think, in the beginning days of, like, my mom was my first person I walked through with cancer. So we're talking in the 90s. And at that time, holistic, you had Hallelujah Acres, you had carrot juicing, you had those options, but you didn't have a lot of other options that were as proven as they are today. We're 30 years past that. What has been proven today is much more effective, and what's being discovered today, which is why Hope for Cancer has so much arsenal at their disposal to help people overcome cancer. And like you said, it is out of pocket. But cancer isn't free. Even if you have insurance, cancer is not free. It can still devastate any family's pocketbook, and it is still expensive even with insurance. So I think, so recognizing there are three different choices of options. So you've got conventional and traditional. I kind of put them in the same camp, and then natural and holistic, I put them in a camp. And so then you have integrative, which combines the two. And that's what my mom chose. There were times she did the surgery at first, but they did nothing. They just opened her up, closed her, said, we're not touching it. So then she went into radiation and chemo. But then we did, like you, it was like, okay, research. And it was that research and that integrative approach in our mindset that took her from a 5-year sentence to a 19-year adventure. So be willing
That's a big victory. Yeah.
It's huge. I mean, the cancer industry says if you live 5 years, you're a victory. I'm like, 5 years? Is that all you got? But I'm looking for a 19, a 20-year, 30-year victory is what I'm looking for. And so I think what we want to tell people is be open to the different directions that God takes you. The other thing is this that I learned this is so instrumental for us. When you walk into a doctor's office, be sure and pray beforehand. Say, Lord, let only the truth be spoken here. I get emails every day, people who are in fear. My doctor said, if I don't follow his advice, he will, he gives you this huge, horrible story. And the same doctors did that to my mom. We walked out. Still had to pay the bill, but we walked out. It's like, you either speak to me in truth and love, or we will not be your patient. So we should never walk into any one of those choices. And all three of those options can still create fear. Oh, if I go natural and holistic and it doesn't work and I die, okay, that can create fear. If I go integrative and that doesn't work and I die, or if I go chemo and that doesn't work and I die, when you add fear into the mix, you're interfering with the healing. So whatever you step into it with complete assurance that you believe in your heart, this is what God wants you to do. And then make sure you surround yourself. I love the book 10 Hours to Live by, I think it's Brian Willis. Surround yourself with God's word and people who believe in your choice of action. I think that's so pivotal to your success. What do you think, Jenny?
It is important. I chose integrative for that same reason. You know, you've got people on one end that do all conventional who actually do well, and you have some that don't make it, and you've got some that do all holistic who don't make. There's casualties on both sides. And what I found is when you put the lifestyle changes in with the integrative medical doctor and the all that has to offer, and you take some from both sides, and you look at the whole smorgasbord and use every tool in it, you know, then you're going to come out better. You know, no one can guarantee you 100%, but you're going to come out better. Let me say this. I'm seeing some interesting things today in some of the people that I work with. One mom was diagnosed with a stage 4 HER2 positive, so that's aggressive, and estrogen-fed cancer. She is not being offered chemo, radiation, or surgery. She is taking 2 pills, and this is the trend that I'm starting to see coming out of California with Dr. David Chon. But her doctor, I don't know where he picked it up from, but she just got a clean scan today. This morning I heard she's got a clean scan. Does that mean she's cancer-free? No, but she went from metastatic breast cancer to a clean scan after about 5 months on the letrozole, a pill, and another pill, Verzenio. It's a non-chemo oral tablet. And the 2 together have gotten her that far. So when you look at that, and you go, wow, look at what conventional medicine's done here. Or Jimmy Carter with a stage 4 melanoma at early 90s, and he's lived 8 more years because of a pill he took. Okay. And he's had a pretty fruitful life. Now he's close to dying. You know, he's in hospice now. But the point is, there are some things coming out of conventional medicine that we don't want to negate, and we want to look at everything being offered because new things are offered every day with less side effects. And so these pills and these immunotherapies and some of the things coming out of the pipeline today are moving away from the harsh chemo. And if we can start moving in that direction, I think things will be better. But can you imagine? She's not getting chemo, radiation, or surgery. And if she implements lifestyle changes, she might beat it.
Yes.
As people have.
I so agree with that. And I also recognize, though, the pharma institution would not have gone that route if people hadn't been insistent. So I think the way people are responding, like, I don't like the options of chemo and radiation, and I want something different. So that has caused big pharma to make different decisions. Like, okay, we need to have an alternative because we're losing people to other options, because the other option categories have grown as well in their knowledge. And so the main thing is that I just want to kind of wrap this up. There are different options available. Go to the Lord in prayer. Pray for his guidance. Pray for only truth to be spoken in any doctor's room. I've had people who said, you know, Annette, I was doing chemo, but then my insurance ran out, so they discontinued it. While I was looking for another insurance option, I started doing integrative and holistic, and then I realized what the chemo started, the natural finished. And so turned out her tumor went away. I also want to put out one caution, though. Now they are diagnosing stage 0 tumors, and that's becoming very common. And just be careful when if you get that diagnosis, choose wisely your options and choose between holistic, integrative, or conventional, but just really choose wisely. And my biggest thing is never use a doctor who uses fear as a tactic. There's no place for fear, which is why if we speak, Lord, only let truth come from their mouth. I've seen doctors that are just befuddled and can't get a word out of their mouth. And you're like, well, that doctor, I said, did you pray for him to only speak truth first? She said, yeah. I said, well, then he couldn't talk. I've seen it happen. And there's sometimes that I will go with people locally here as their advocate in the office, and I say, I'm just here just to help them take notes. And then, but I always pray with them ahead of time. It's like, okay, only the truth can be spoken here. And by that, one lady was able to avoid treatments because her doctor could only speak, really, this is kind of benign and you really don't need to have treatment. But the prior visit before I was there, before we prayed, he was like pushing and like, hey, just speak truth. And then the truth came out. You actually really don't need this. That was like 5 years ago. She's not had an episode since. So speak the truth. Ask for God to harness any words that are not for you. Speak the truth. And then surround yourself with people who are in agreement with your decision.
I don't know if you realize this, but chemo is in shortage right now. And I think the blessing in that is it's forcing them to look at other things to fill the gap. And those other things tend to have less side effects. They need to look at how they can use less chemo or totally get away from chemo if they can replace it with something that doesn't have so many caustic side effects.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think it may be a blessing in disguise, but it's a lot of decisions. And again, you have to pray about it. And you're right, you got to surround yourself with people who are your cheerleaders who will support you. But it's one decision after another.
Right.
And only you, even if you just find out what's offered, doesn't mean you have to choose what those doctors offer. Some people don't want to even find out. Find out, research, go to doctors, get second opinions. You're the driver. You decide whether you want chemo. You decide whether you're willing to do radiation. I opted out of the radiation. And my radiologist yelled at me, screamed at me, made me feel terrible, but I felt the peace in my heart and I just kept on walking, So sometimes you have to, again, you are the driver in the seat.
And that's important. That's so important. Well, thank you, Jenny. Again, great words of wisdom for everyone watching. And because of everything that's happened in the last 4 years, cancer rates they were already climbing in exponential numbers, but now it's even worse, and even younger people as well. And it's just so sad. It breaks my heart. But yet God did not give us the spirit of fear. He gave us the spirit of power, love, and a sound mind. And everything we've talked about in all of our videos together talk about how to change what you have control over. And that is something that should never be well, maybe I will, maybe I won't. It should always be, yes, I will. Yes, I will make the changes. I will start eating healthy. I will start making sure my home is environmentally in a good place so that I'm breathing in the right air. I'm using the right cooking utensils. I'm doing everything I can to be preventative for you, your grandchildren, and your children. It's that important. And even your pets. We won't even go there, but that's a whole nother topic. But yes, everything matters. All of your choices matter. So thank you, Jenny, for another great interview. I hope people go and check out your book. We'll put a link to that down below. I hope they also check out the Conquering Cancer course. That is just continues to keep improving and getting better and better. We keep adding to it. And it's just a one-time purchase, and then you have it for a lifetime, which means Jenny and I will keep adding more content to it as it becomes available to us. We will keep feeding into that course, plus monthly coaching with Jenny. So the value in that is priceless because she will become your best friend and your best advocate.